Before anything appears, an unnatural silence takes hold. Beyond the calm horizon, humanity's nightmare is waiting. A barren landscape mirrors the world soon revealed. Then darkness carries us into a civilization erased. By day 89, the world stands completely abandoned. One surviving family enters a deserted pharmacy. Inside, every careful step must remain completely silent. Empty aisles prove their remaining supplies are scarce. Shadows hide who a tavern may still be hunting nearby. Still, they advance, risking each carefully measured step. Regan searches the dark refrigerators for anything useful. Nearby, feverish Marcus waits while strength abandons him. Evelyn urgently scans the shelves for medicine. Every bottle becomes a desperate chance to save him. At last, she chooses what little remains. Her relief is brief. Danger still surrounds them. Lee helps Marcus take the medicine in silence. The family waits, praying his strength will return. Then Bill imagines a rocket carrying them away. Regan follows his gaze toward the dangerous toy. His dream lies waiting beside a childish drawing. Unable to resist, Bill reaches for the rocket. Regan watches as Lee notices the dangerous choice. Lee immediately removes the toy from Bo's hands. He warns Bo that its noise means death. Regan understands, though Bo's disappointment cuts deeply. Lee removes the batteries, making the rocket harmless. Evelyn warns that darkness is closing in fast. With medicine secured, the family prepares to leave. He separates the batteries, believing the danger ended. Lee repeats the warning until Bo finally understands. The boy accepts the rule, but not the loss. Evelyn comforts him, softening his quiet disappointment. Regan watches them leave, torn by his sadness. She lingers behind as the others step outside. Bo's pleading eyes finally weaken Regan's resolve. She returns the rocket, trusting it cannot sound. He follows outside, secretly carrying his forbidden prize. The family moves on, unaware he still has it. Their silent journey home crosses the abandoned town. Bare feet follow sand trails that swallow every step. They cross the forest in disciplined, fearful formation. Soon, an iron bridge traps them above open ground. Regan stays close, never sensing Bo falling behind. But Bo trails alone, still clutching the rocket. Ahead, sick Marcus clings tightly to his father. Lee carries him forward, focused only on home. Then the rocket screams, and Lee races backward. But one brutal instant leaves everyone forever shattered. Bo's death defines the silence that follows. 472 days later, grief still governs them. Regan now reads the world through silent vibrations. Her fingertips detect what her ears cannot hear. Nearby, Marcus watches the cornfield for hidden movement. Evelyn returns with supplies, keeping everyone within sight. Together, they follow the safe path back home. Cameras track every approach to their fortified farmhouse. Below, Lee studies the enemy that destroyed civilization. Every headline confirms the same law. Silence survives. His notes reveal blind hunters protected by armor. Still, Lee searches the radio for surviving voices. He sends another desperate plea across empty frequencies. Every crossed frequency records another unanswered attempt. Elsewhere, Marcus retreats into the abandoned farm truck. His tears reveal Bo's death still haunts him. Lee reaches inside, quietly drawing him back. Marcus reluctantly faces the world beyond the wheel. His father steadies him, but grief remains. Alone again, Marcus walks toward the silent farmhouse. Inside, every room has been rebuilt for survival. Meanwhile, pregnant Evelyn secretly prepares a silent nursery. Every soft toy is designed to make no sound. At dusk, Lee watches the valley from above. From there, he scans every vulnerable field below. Below, the hidden nursery awaits the unborn child. Evelyn checks oxygen meant to silence the newborn. Every device protects someone the family cannot lose. Night gathers over the farm and its defenses. Inside, Evelyn settles the siblings for another anxious evening. Above them, Lee ignites a signal into darkness. The flame announces that his family still survives. Distant replies confirm other survivors remain out there. Encouraged, Lee climbs down before night fully falls. Meanwhile, Evelyn quietly prepares the family's evening meal. Regan's guarded stare exposes resentment still buried inside. Lee returns and washes away the day's exhaustion. Behind him, Regan waits for a sign of warmth. Yet Lee's silence leaves her wound unresolved. So the family gathers, carrying grief to dinner. Marcus takes his place beneath flickering candlelight. Regan hesitates, then accepts the family's offered hands. Together, they bow their heads in silent prayer. For one moment, their fractured bond holds firm. After dinner, a quiet game restores normality. Regan and Marcus briefly remember how laughter felt, but a sudden disturbance instantly ends their fragile peace. Lee freezes, catching something beyond their little game. He signals silence as every smile disappears. Evelyn realizes danger may already be near, and Lee listens, knowing one mistake could expose them. Evelyn shields her unborn child as terror closes in. Lee listens upward, certain the creature remains nearby. Regan reads his fear and silently braces herself. At the window, Lee searches the darkness outside. A rustle outside keeps the whole family frozen. Only when silence returns does Evelyn finally breathe. At last, the farm settles beneath its warning lights. Yet the dark night offers Lee no real peace. Below the house, he resumes his desperate research. Every wire becomes another chance to help Regan. He rebuilds her hearing aid with trembling precision. Evelyn quietly descends and finds him still working. She recognizes the guilt driving his sleepless obsession. Without interrupting, she wraps him in reassurance. Her touch reminds Lee he is not alone. For once, his fear softens into a smile. He leaves the broken device and turns toward her. Together, they reclaim one tender moment from survival. Their kiss briefly silences the grief between them. Foreheads touching, they remember life before the monsters. Sharing one song, they surrender to its warmth. Lee holds her closer as tomorrow's danger waits. Evelyn searches his eyes for one lasting promise. Their quiet dance becomes shelter against the coming storm. By day 473, tenderness gives way to preparation. Morning reveals the farm still standing, barely secure. Evelyn begins checking whether her body is ready. The pressure gauge turns pregnancy into another survival calculation. She marks the calendar, knowing time is running out. Then she listens, praying the baby remains strong. Each heartbeat promises hope their world can still keep. Her growing belly makes every future plan urgent. Alone below, she confronts childbirth without certainty. Meanwhile, Regan appears, determined to follow Lee. Barefoot, she enters quietly before he can leave. She descends and willing to accept another refusal. Lee sees her coming and understands the argument. Outside, Regan follows him onto the silent path. She demands to join, but Lee firmly refuses. Then he reaches for one last compromise. Kneeling, Lee explains this version may finally work. He vows to keep trying until sound returns. But Regan signs for him to stop. She rejects the aid, wounding him without words. Her anger hardens, convinced he still cannot listen. Inside the barn, Marcus works through another lesson. Evelyn watches, knowing ordinary knowledge now saves lives. Even as Lee prepares outside, she keeps Marcus focused. Marcus answers carefully, still afraid of leaving home. His mother steadies him with a reassuring touch. These lessons matter because childhood protection is ending. Soon, Marcus must know how to care for her. A playful joke finally loosens the fear between them. His smile returns before she kisses him goodbye. Outside, Lee and Marcus shoulder their heavy packs. Lee makes Regan stay behind to protect Evelyn. Evelyn embraces Lee, hiding how deeply she worries. Their final goodbye leaves Regan feeling rejected again. Evelyn hides her dread as Lee looks back. Then father and son disappear along the path. Left behind, Regan retreats with anger still burning. Alone, she studies the device she already distrusts. The quiet room only deepens her isolation. Despite herself, she fits the new aid carefully. She presses it tighter, desperate for any change. Nothing improves, and disappointment hardens into despair. She removes it, feeling abandoned by another failure. At last, grief breaks through her guarded silence. Yet tears quickly become a plan to escape. Regan gathers what she needs before anyone returns. Before leaving, she takes the device Lee made. Then she shoulders her bag and slips away. Far away, Lee guides Marcus through the woods. They reach the river, where rushing water dominates. Lee checks the trap that keeps them fed. The catch proves patience still rewards their discipline. Seeing Marcus panic, Lee commands his full attention. He explains the river can conceal smaller sounds. Danger hears them only when silence surrounds them. Beside roaring water, Marcus is finally safe. But Regan is already walking beyond their reach. Back home, Evelyn continues preparing for the birth. She works alone, unaware danger waits beneath her. A sudden unease makes her pause and listen. On the stairs, a hidden nail points upward. Evelyn climbs toward it, carrying another heavy load. Meanwhile, the waterfall gives Lee perfect cover. He brings Marcus behind its thunderous curtain. There, Lee proves even shouting cannot expose them. He promises Marcus the water will keep them safe. Together, they test that promise against the roar. At home, Khan still masks the approaching crisis. Evelyn hangs laundry while watching the empty fields. Then old photographs draw her back inside. A family portrait revives Beau's unbearable absence. Meanwhile, Regan retraces Beau's final route alone. By the river, Marcus finally questions Lee directly. Does he blame Regan for what happened? Lee hesitates, knowing Regan carries the blame herself. And Marcus confirms she still blames herself. Back home, Beau's room reopens Evelyn's deepest wound. She sits among his things, grieving in silence. While he comforts Marcus, Evelyn struggles to contain grief. Meanwhile, Regan reaches Beau's memorial, crushed by guilt. As Lee defends her, Regan clutches Beau's toy. Marcus realizes his sister still carries the blame. At the bridge, that guilt becomes impossible to escape. Meanwhile, Lee and Marcus approach an eerie clearing. A silent house ahead feels dangerously wrong. From inside, someone watches their cautious approach. Marcus senses the hidden danger before seeing it. He stays close as Lee enters the property. Then they find a woman lying dead outside. Her shattered husband emerges, grief consuming all reason. His despair hardens into one fatal decision. The man screams, sending Lee and Marcus fleeing. With death rushing closer, Lee searches for cover. He silences Marcus before panic betrays them. Back home, Evelyn feels labor strike without warning. Her water breaks, leaving her isolated and vulnerable. Each contraction forces her downstairs without making sound. She searches the empty house, desperate for help. Another wave nearly tears a scream from her. Yet darkness closes in, leaving no recovery time. Then her bare foot lands directly on a nail. Agony explodes, but Evelyn cannot risk screaming. Bleeding heavily, she frees her foot in silence. She reaches Lee's workshop, seeking one desperate solution. Contractions intensify while she scans the crowded room. With trembling hands, she begins preparing a diversion. She reaches across the bench despite blinding pain. An old-timer becomes her only chance. Then she hides, knowing the creature is near. She wedges beneath the workbench, barely breathing. Every movement above could expose her hiding place. Across the fields, Lee spots the red warning lights. Knowing Evelyn is trapped, he races home. Inside, Evelyn remains cornered as footsteps draw nearer. She presses against the wall, forcing herself still. The predator searches nearby, listening for one mistake. Its silhouette appears behind her without warning. Even breathing now risks revealing where she hides. Another contraction threatens to destroy her silence. Its jaws open, hunting the smallest sound. When it shifts away, Evelyn slips upstairs. She listens, uncertain whether the danger has passed. Outside, Lee explains the rockets can mask sound. He entrusts Marcus with their only distraction. Though terrified, Marcus gathers courage for the task. Then he races alone toward the waiting fireworks. Meanwhile, Evelyn reaches the bathroom as labor peaks. She braces herself, fighting every scream inside. Blood runs freely as her strength begins failing. The baby leaves her no time to hide. Then the creature enters while Evelyn lies helpless. A brutal contraction nearly gives her away. Outside, Marcus finally reaches the waiting fuse. He ignites it, sending sparks racing forward. Inside, Evelyn sees the signal and understands. Fireworks erupt, masking her scream as birth begins. The blasts lure the creature away from Evelyn. Lee rushes inside, shotgun raised through the darkness. He follows the blood trail toward the bathroom. Every corner could hide the returning predator. Then he finds Evelyn alive, but completely spent. His terror breaks when he sees the newborn. Blood stains the doorway as he reaches them. Relief overwhelms the family when they finally reunite. Outside, Marcus sees the distant safety lights again. He pushes through the corn, desperate to return. A sudden sound makes him stop and listen. Fear takes over, and he runs blindly onward. The stalks close around him as panic rises. Meanwhile, Regan sprints barefoot toward the farm. Inside, Evelyn clutches the newborn they barely saved. Lee carries them beneath the glowing warning lights. He brings his family into the hidden shelter. There, a prepared cradle offers temporary safety. They settle the baby beneath an oxygen mask. Then Lee seals the box to silence every breath. Outside, Regan returns and cautiously enters the corn. A movement nearby makes her search the darkness. The creature is already hunting only steps away. Her hearing aid suddenly shrieks against the predator. The piercing feedback forces the creature to recoil. But Bo's final walk flashes through Regan's mind. Back underground, Lee insists the shelter is safe. He urges Evelyn to rest and regain strength, but she immediately asks where their children are. Lee promises they know exactly where to wait. His reassurance cannot silence Evelyn's deeper fear. She forces him to confront what comes next. Their newborn son rests between them, painfully fragile. Lee confirms the baby is a boy. Yet Bo's absence still haunts the exhausted parents. Evelyn admits she still feels Bo's weight. She remembers holding him before that fatal day. Her free arms could have carried him instead. That unbearable choice has never stopped haunting her. So she asks who they are without protecting them. Evelyn begs Lee to promise their children survive. Meanwhile, Regan slips away through the dark corn. She reaches Bo's memorial, burdened by old guilt. Lee finds her and ends their bitter distance. Returning home, Lee finds the warning lights blazing. He searches the silent house for Evelyn. Every red light warns him the danger remains. Then spreading water confirms the basement has flooded. Outside, the children wait atop the distant silo. Their signal glows while darkness swallows the farm. Regan watches Marcus, knowing they cannot stay. As she hesitates, Lee searches his notes for answers. Marcus still believes their father will find them. And Lee studies every weakness the creatures might have. His faith briefly steadies Regan's shattered resolve. Back home, a dying flame signals something approaching. The hunter slips nearer, following the slightest sound. Below, the newborn shelter sits surrounded by water. Evelyn realizes the creature has followed her downstairs. Now only the crib separates predator from baby. She climbs higher, staying above the flooded floor. Yet the hunter circles the baby's fragile shelter. Its armored body slips silently through the water. Evelyn freezes as it passes within arm's reach. One breath could expose both mother and child. The creature turns back toward the hidden newborn. For agonizing seconds, she waits in total darkness. Then the predator finally moves away from them. Unaware, Lee keeps searching through the corn. Meanwhile, Regan retrieves the hearing aid Lee built. Back below, the creature prowls through the red light. Above the silo, Regan insists they must leave. Marcus refuses, trusting Lee will still find them. And their father is already closing in. But Marcus suddenly sinks beneath the unstable grain. Regan dives after him before he disappears completely. Nearby, Lee spots movement around the silo. Regan drags Marcus onto the fallen metal door. For one moment, the barrier keeps him afloat. But shifting grain begins swallowing them both again. Marcus climbs upward while Regan fights toward him. Still, the grain keeps dragging him under. She catches his arm before he vanishes. Then the silo hatch suddenly opens above them. Marcus warns Regan to stay completely silent. A creature drops inside, sealing their escape. Regan watches it descend toward their hiding place. Its claws probe the grain inches from Marcus. The siblings flatten themselves beneath the metal door. Together, they hold it between themselves and death. But the creature's weight starts crushing their cover. Then Regan's hearing aid erupts with feedback. Elsewhere, Evelyn limps upstairs, searching for her family. Lee reaches the silo as darkness closes around him. He scans the field, fearing he arrived too late. A faint movement finally reveals where they are. Lee finds both children alive and pulls them close. Relief breaks through, but danger still surrounds them. He silences everyone as another creature approaches. Their only refuge is the abandoned pickup ahead. Lee guides the children toward the pickup shelter. They climb inside while he remains exposed outside. With the lantern raised, Lee draws danger away. Inside, Marcus watches his father remain defenseless. Outside, Lee realizes the creature has found them. Regan climbs behind the wheel, ready to escape. Yet she cannot abandon her wounded father. Painful feedback forces Regan to tear it free. The creature lunges before Marcus can even react. Bleeding, Lee reaches for one final weapon. He strikes, but the hunter hurls him aside. Barely standing, Lee zaps between death and his children. He signs to Regan that he loves her. Then he assures her he always has. Understanding his choice, Regan watches Lee scream. His sacrifice pulls the creature away from the truck. By dawn, the children reach home without him. The silent house confirms Lee will never return. Evelyn emerges and sees them coming alone. She embraces them, instantly understanding his final sacrifice. Their reunion brings relief sharpened by unbearable grief. Yet survival forces them back into the basement. Regan descends first, carrying Lee's unfinished hope. The dark workshop waits exactly as he left it. While Evelyn searches, Regan confronts her father's work. His notes reveal the creature's hunt entirely by sound. Nearby, Marcus protects the newborn through the silence. Across the bench lie countless failed hearing aids. Regan notices the last device Lee repaired. His final effort suddenly connects every deadly encounter. Evelyn steadies her as grief becomes determination. Together, they realize Lee had found a weakness. Before they can act, another hunter enters. Evelyn raises the shotgun and shields Regan. She waits, refusing to waste their only shot. The armored creature charges straight through the workshop. Evelyn holds her aim as it closes in. Regan activates the amplifier beside her father's equipment. The feedback tears open the creature's armored head. Now armed with its weakness, they prepare to fight. Regan studies her father's notes, searching for one weakness. Then his feedback clue points toward her hearing aid. Its armored face opens, confirming her desperate theory. The creature reels, but its claws remain dangerously close. Regan fights the pain while Evelyn stays beside her. She presses the hearing aid against the amplifier. The feedback overwhelms the monster, forcing its armor apart. Exposed and disoriented, it cannot shield itself anymore. For one breath, the workshop falls eerily still. Mother and daughter realize the signal has changed everything. But it lunges again, and Evelyn steadies her shotgun. One final blast drops the exposed creature for good. Their relief fades as something draws their attention. Evelyn watches grimly, knowing the fight is unfinished. Two more creatures race toward the farmhouse outside. Regan answers the threat with calm, hardened resolve. The amplifier becomes their weapon against the next wave. Their defiant stand ends as the credits begin. The producers behind this tense nightmare receive credit. Executive producers follow, closing the film's final chapter. Costume design helped ground the family's desperate survival. Casting choices shaped every survivor we feared losing. Noah Jupe was honored for Marcus's quiet courage. Platinum Dunes marks the production behind their ordeal. Production leaders kept the silent catastrophe moving precisely. The cast returns, naming the family who survived. Supporting performers and producers complete the human story. Editors and artists shape the workshop's final showdown. Camera and sound crews captured every dangerous silence. Lighting crews carved terror from every basement shadow. Practical effects made the creature's assault feel immediate. Set and costume teams built their fragile refuge. Makeup and sound artists deepened the family's exhaustion. Post-production teams tightened the tension until the end. Behind them, countless assistants sustained the demanding shoot. Sound editors transformed silence into the film's weapon. Musicians carried dread beneath the family's final resistance. Construction crews created the farm's battered, believable world. Transport interpreters and medics supported every tense moment. Film artists brought the armored predators terrifyingly alive. Digital artists refined each impossible movement and attack. More specialists completed the creature's relentless screen presence. Their combined work sustained the nightmare through darkness. Concept and visual teams defined the monster's design. Additional studios strengthened every glimpse of alien danger. Finishing artists polished the film's final haunting images. Special thanks honor community supporting the silent production. Safety notices confirm every animal remained unharmed throughout filming. Legal notices close the story's fictional world responsibly. Finally, Paramount's Mountain closes their unfinished fight.